Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 29th of May for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you an overview which we can all relate to collectively, but please stay with me. I will explore in much greater detail all the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. If you're new here, it's great to have you with us. This is very much a community. Do share any thoughts you have. I try to interact with each one, but please also subscribe by clicking or tapping on the bell notification symbol. As this week begins, so the Sun is in a very enthusiastic and energizing link with Mars. The Sun's in Gemini, which is fleet-footed, loves lots of quick, short, but bright conversations and has an appetite for everyday knowledge and information. Mars in the proud Leo is a really wonderful location for Mars. It's pushing us to manifest our talents wherever we can. It's just that despite their vibrant link, Saturn is being somewhat of a spoilsport, located in house 12, which can be to do with the people who are not necessarily on our side, or the more psychological or subconscious strands of our situation. Saturn is in a right angle with the Sun, which can slow things down, but it's also in a triangle with Mars. And if we don't really target our efforts in a very focused way, we could end up feeling a bit frustrated at the start of this week. But Wednesday, fortunately, sees Mercury emerge from its post-retrograde shadow. If we go back to the 4th of April, when Mercury moved into Taurus, by the 7th, it started to slow down and go into its pre-retrograde shadow. The retrograde itself began on the 21st of April and ended on the 15th of May. But if anything to do with finance has felt sluggish, has slowed down for you, or you've been waiting for some information or news, the chances are you're going to get that confirmation in the second half of this week as Mercury comes out of shadow, which is like a mini retrograde, but also aligns with the bright energies of Uranus, which is very much about truths. So Uranus in Taurus is joined by Mercury, and some information can come into the open which provides some real illumination, particularly if you have been feeling that things just aren't shifting. Now Venus is the ruler of the sign of Taurus and therefore intrinsically linked to everyday finance, but is currently in the feeling sign of Cancer, and it forges a quite enchanting link with Neptune in the second half of this week. If you're lucky enough to be involved in a friendship, association, or personal relationship, which really is lovely, you can celebrate this with that other person in the latter part of this week. But Venus is also in a direct opposition with Pluto, and that can bring a much more political vibe to bear. But overall, the two influences involving Venus ask us to really count our blessings in terms of our associations, but also appreciate what our core values are, which provide our sense of security, with Venus being in the sign of security, Cancer. But as the week draws to a close, we do have the full moon, the Sagittarius strawberry full moon. So this can be a crop of strawberries, if we like, over the next couple of weeks, but it can also see some strident conversations. The sign of Sagittarius loves openness and can be quite frank, but it's also about higher truths, whereas the Sun in Gemini is about those everyday quick moving chats that are not necessarily always so deep and thought through. So there could be some kind of discussion that manifests itself at the end of this week. If it's about money, if it's about our core values, our self-worth, or a relationship, it really wouldn't be a surprise. But something may need to come into the open which provides illumination, but it could be a little bit uncomfortable hearing what someone has to say. Now, if you would like to learn much more deeply how astrology can have such a profound impact on your life, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data, of time, date and place of birth, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you an intimate understanding of the patterns that have played out in your existence so far. In my special offer of 30% off, you can also get your 12-month forecast, totally unique to you, these reports, and that will give you Syrian insights. If you don't know your time, my new solar reports based on the sun can also be invaluable to you. Please see the links below for more. So Capricorn, your week commencing the 29th of May forecast sees two competing influences right at the start of the week. One is high energy and can give you a lot of drive to achieve practical things that actually can be very satisfying, but the other one can actually create some obstacles and frustrations. How do you deal with this? I think it's to set yourself some realistic targets for the week. Prioritize what's really essential. Don't give yourself too much to do, and if you just do those well and efficiently, you'll actually give yourself a real sense of achievement, but also feel that you're gaining traction. If you try to do too much, that's when the overwhelm, the frustration and even the irritation can be created by the role of Saturn and its right angle with the Sun, which can lower our vitality. But in terms of the more social parts of your chart, Mercury emerging from its post-retrograde shadow on Wednesday is really welcome. Jupiter, the planet of hope, of growth and good fortune, arrived in this area in the middle of May, and Mercury aligns with Uranus in the second part of this week, and it could lead to some sudden dates or connections or gatherings which really can delight you. So if there has been some slowing down or some muddles around those particular areas, really since the start of the second week of April, I feel that now things can start to speed up, and that can really delight you. But also Venus remains in a very influential part of your situation, the 7th house, and can work wonders here. And it links in a beautiful way with Neptune. You could have a really lovely conversation or connection with someone this week. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be meeting up with a friend, having a coffee or a lunch or a meal, and just that can be very heartwarming. But also Venus is in an opposition with Pluto, which of course is on the cusp of reversing back into your sign on the 11th of June. What I would say to you is that your desire around a relationship situation could be amped up by this, but particularly if your sun is more towards the end of the sign of Capricorn. However, the full moon, which occurs at the end of this week, does need a little bit of care, because as much as the sun is asking you to look at practicalities, the physical realm, the full moon is in the more psychological part of your situation. But in the sign of Sagittarius, that's very much about openness. But the 12th house is where we want to stay quite private about some vulnerabilities or concerns we have. So over the following couple of weeks, you may find yourself having to think carefully about energy, physical health in relation to what might drive it, and some of it could be more to do with the emotional or even subconscious part of your situation.